Hi everyone, it's me, Dolphino, and today I'm happy to announce that I fucking did it. I'm very proud to share this. I was debating on whether or not I should commentate my TD Red's completion, because at this point, 46 people have done it, including myself. And honestly, everyone's seen TD Reds at this point, but I feel like I do enough interesting stuff, and there's enough of an interesting backstory to my grind with this. I figured I would commentate it and share some of the stuff that went on. So, the beginning isn't too unusual. You won't notice anything that I do kind of weirdly. So I'll take this time to just talk about the layout of the star. You see people describe it as a 5-path star, but I'd really break it down into 4 or so major sections. There's the intro, which is just getting to the middle platform, which is what I'm doing right now. It's the first 4 coins. There's the Vanish Cap path, where you go up through Vanish Cap and end in the B1 section before jumping back down to the main area. There's the Thins path, where you go from the Lava Bounce section up to Thins and then jump down. And then there's the QSLG path, which is mandatory to do last. There's 2 major routes for this star. There's VC first and Thins first. Thins first generally requires re-climbing a tiny portion of the stage to get back to the Lava Bounce section, while doing VC first does not require redoing this. It's generally more common to do VC first, and that's what I do here. So, starting off on this VC course, you will notice that there is 4 coins in this section, and I like doing this part first because I actually do a firstie in this area. I'm pretty consistent at it. It's not recommended to grind a firstie, it's just recommended to get a better angle, but the way I did it, I generally wanted a firstie, even if it wasn't technically mandatory. So that being said, be on the lookout for that. I'll let you know when it's coming. And for the rest of the section, there isn't too much to say. I do stop to pull up a funny Twitch clip right here because I was in a voice call. I completely forgot about this. If you want, you could go check out the clip on your own. It's a pretty funny one. It's a classic. So anyway, this is a good time to start talking about my grind. I started this star very first day on May 31st, 2021. And as of me recording this, I got the star on October 26th at 12:02 a.m. So realistically, the night of the 25th. Because I started stream on the night of the 25th, and I got it just after midnight. And throughout those 5 months, I got my first 23 in mid-June, I believe it was. No, it was mid-July. July 11th, to be precise. And that was my first 23. From there, everyone told me I would be very close to the star, and I would get it soon, which, in hindsight, was not the case, but everyone, including me, believed that. It ended up being a much longer road than that, though. And over that time is where a lot of my community came from. I went from a tiny streamer occasionally getting 3 viewers to easily averaging over 10 over the months. And that increase of community support really meant the world to me. It highly motivated me to keep going on this star in general, so I would just want to take this time to say thank you to everyone who started watching me because of this star. Right here is the setup for the firstie I was talking about. So, with that in mind, I don't remember if I hit it. Let's see what happens. Would like to say I double firstied. Indeed, I did. Nice. Getting a double firsty there was always very satisfying. So, this next part, this is the B1 section right here. And honestly, I died here a few times. It's kind of an embarrassing section to die to once you're decent at the start. It's really not hard. This is one of the easier parts of the stage. That being said, there's this really cool vanished cap timing thing right here. It's basically the first I ever saw this. It's not that uncommon to use nowadays, but it's a really cool little gimmick to end this section off on. And generally, the timing I use for that is I wait for the long, loud high note to start, and then I jump, do 8 wall kicks, 8th one being really big, and then I do 4 more and go through the gate. That right there marks the end of the BC section, where I jump down here, where I embarrassingly forgot that I already did that section on numerous occasions and ended up re-climbing the Vanish Cap section. That's a good tip to not do if you want to play this star. So right here is going to be where I start the Thins section. The Thins path, specifically. And I'm gonna enter this Thins path with 10 coins and leave it with 18 coins, getting the 19th right as I jump down. So until I get to something a little bit more interesting, so this part really isn't that cool in my opinion, or maybe if you haven't seen the star, but to me I've seen it a million times, so I don't think of this part as anything exceptional. I will start to talk about just really a lot of people motivated me throughout this process, and I want to take some time to thank these people. I don't want to drop specific names because I would feel really bad if I forgot someone. There was so many people who just came to me in Discord DMs in my streams and just said, "Hey man, this star's been giving you a rough time, but you've got this, you're insane, we all believe in you." And to all of those people out there, there's an incredibly large amount of you. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because even if it didn't seem like I needed it, I really did, and you meant a lot to me. So this is what I mark as the beginning of the Thins path right here. This is Invis wall kicks. It's a section that is really scary when you don't play with notches, which I do not. And there's also a setting you can use on Steam if you have a notchless controller that allows you to essentially round the angle, so if you're really close to straight up but not quite, it will just give you a straight up angle. I don't use that at all. So for this part, that is incredibly terrifying, because if I roll slightly left of up at any point, I can easily pop out and die. So just bear that fact in mind for later when I get to Thins. So upcoming is cones. I use a setup that Maddie showed me to get this Hefo stuck right there. It's incredibly helpful for me. And then I just line up this angle for a really long time and get the cones. I actually had to do a little bit of jump there because I didn't have enough speed to just make it. It's really scary to have to do a jump like that, but I did it enough times throughout my attempts that it really kind of got less scary and I would just go for it. That being said, you never want to have to try and back up cones. Cones is a terrible section to have any sort of mistake on. So, coming up is going to be probably the biggest cheese in the entire level. Everyone knows this cheese, or everyone who goes for the star knows this cheese. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do the intended strategy. The intended strategy is unironically, arguably the hardest jump in the entire stage. And it's incredibly fortunate we do not have to do it. So right after I do this arch wall kick right here to get a red coin, you normally are supposed to get back down onto a smaller platform, do some precise wall kicks through some lava vines, as I would like to call them. They're lava forms of the vine textures from Bramble Castle. So they're essentially just these vines that span between the wall kicks, and you just gotta dodge them. It's kind of cool. But then it ends with you having to precisely hit the edge. And you can skip that by doing that really high speed jump and then diving into the wall to cap your speed and make sure you don't go flying off once you hit the wall. Right here's the crumb climb section. If you blink, you might have missed it. It's really short, it's really easy. No one dies to it. I died to it 3 times. No one else has ever died to it. It's probably not true, but I would like to believe it's true. It's a funny section that I do. So, right here, you've probably noticed I take my time a lot with Kuramames like that. Whenever I am near a Kuramame, I intentionally wait until the exact second it shoots to do anything, just so I absolutely maximize my time to work with. And I always kill Chapyas, unless I feel like I mean to leave them. I do all of that sort of stuff to buy myself as much time as I can for setting up each and every jump, which just massively improved my consistency. The only reason I left that Chucky on the platform back there is just, in case you miss thins, it's nice to have that as a backup to get more health. Right here is a really funny Heave-Ho kill. I used to not know how it worked. Now I can just say it's that corner. Heave-Hos have a very weird hitbox. And so when it hits that corner, even if it doesn't look like it hits the corner, it does. And since that corner is acute, that angle the outer wall just kind of pulls it through the corner and out of the wall. This jump right here is terrifying. I died to it a lot. This jump right here is also terrifying, and I also died to it a lot. This is thins. Generally speaking, when you're doing wall kicks, you want to go side to side, but this jump is so incredibly precise that you almost have to go front to back just so you can, like, stay in them. Which, as I said earlier, I don't have notches or a setting to just, like, make my angles better. So that section is especially scary for me. But that being said, I ended up getting really good at it. I was probably around 60 or 70% by the time I got this star. And that marks the end of the thins path. All I have left is QSLGs now. You might notice that I did that slope section right there the second time around while I did lava bounces the first time. The reason I do that is my strat for this section right here, which is incredibly janky. A lot of people struggle with this section. I didn't die to it for like a month before getting the star. I just kind of had a hot streak with this section and got lucky. But if you see there, I take damage from that last lava boost just due to the strat I use being a little bit slower than most people's. Which means if I did use the lava bounce to get up towards the metal cap box, then I would inevitably have 2 health, so taking damage would be lethal. So that's why I do that strat in the slope strat instead of doing the lava cheese a second time. So while I'm doing this part, I'd like to say this is the biggest strat that got me picked on. A lot of people joked about this one, because most people, once they get up this next jump, they just long jump straight to the beginning of the WWM section, which is the big purple and green 72 square thing. That's WWM right there. Most people long jump. I personally do the maximal swagger strat, which is going all the way up here, accidentally burning myself like a complete moron. And then I just kind of get speed and just zoom all the way down here. I love this strat. Everyone talks about how hard it is. It's not hard. I died to it once ever, including practice. So that being said, it's really not that bad. Although it is kind of funny and weird, I will give it that. It's the biggest reason I kept doing it was because I was familiar with it and it was funny. So there's that. Here's probably a good time to say, if you don't know how QSLGs work, which is short for quicksand ledge grab, essentially there's quick climbs and slow climbs in Mario 64, and if you slow climb while not holding a direction on the joystick, you have a 7-frame window where you can jump before your climb animation ends, which means that the quicksand kill does not have time to start before you jump, essentially meaning you can just jump off the quicksand from the ledge. The unfortunate thing about those is you can chain a ton of them in a row, because previously in this star you've only seen like 1 or 2 at a time, and this is about to be the part where you see a ton. Because the Bowser 3 section, which is 23 in this star, 23 out of 24 coins, has a lot of them. Also, I do a lot of waiting on cycles here just to make sure I don't die. This section is really hard if you get a bad cycle and really easy if you get a good one. So I intentionally just wait until I feel incredibly confident with the cycle I get. I will say right now, I had 4 or 5 hot streaks of 23s while going for this star. The first one was around 45 hours into the grind. I was absolutely certain I was getting the star soon then. And then my controller broke, so I took a little bit of a hiatus. I came back. Around 110 hours, I start getting a hot streak again. Get to around, I don't know, 8 or 9 23s by that point. At that point I thought I was doing pretty good, and then I went on a cold streak, and my controller broke again. I've had really bad luck with controllers breaking. So, around 130 or so hours, I get on another hot streak. I'm like, dang, this is really good. I get to 19, and then my controller breaks yet again. So at that point, I'm kind of done. But I got to 165 hours, and I got on the craziest hot streak of 23s, which that coin right there defines a 23 attempt. I got on the craziest hot streak of 23s the community has ever seen, as I went from 19 to 35 in 2 weeks, which is absolutely unheard of. Most of my 23s died to this jump right here, precise wall kicks. It's an absolute monster. There's so many ways you can go about it. Each one has its own problems. They're all really hard. This jump right here is kind of free. I died to it like twice, I think. One of them wasn't really my fault. And the other was just me being dumb. But this jump right here is unofficially the hardest jump in the entire stage for me. These Kuramame QSLGs absolutely destroyed me. And it's worth noting, I have really bad issues with anxiety. So, getting to this section, I was already, like, not able to play. As my roommate put it, it looked like I was having a seizure. So, just getting past the Kuramame makes me feel absolutely, like, out of my mind. I just cannot think, I cannot play, I'm just hoping at that point. Which I lost around 6 to 8 attempts total to that Kuramame section. It's kind of hard to gauge because some of them were borderline. This section here, this triple slope wall kick, killed 5 attempts? 4 attempts? 4 attempts. Yeah, I had 4 whole attempts to this section that died to these 3 wall kicks. If you look at this view, the star spawns at the top center. That's how close I was so many times. One of which happened during my 45-hour hot streak. So I almost got this star in less than 50 hours, which is insane, but it ended up taking 171 total. I came up with a really neat visual cue for this part, where I try and line up that crack from the B1 section to be basically in the center of Mario's head. The angle for this section is not precise, but the straining is super consistent if you just have an absolute angle, and that just made this jump feel so much more easy and consistent. I was already pretty good at it, but I managed to do it in an attempt, and that's really what matters. Right here, my PB died between this box and landing this jump right here. That's where my personal best died before getting the star. That was devastating for me. That was my 15th 23. I got 20 more after that. So, right here, I was in a voice call the entire star. This is the point where everyone was panicking, everyone was silent, no one knew what to say. I didn't know what to say. I was out of my mind, because there's one jump left, and it's a 3-frame input, which isn't hard, but when you're on this good of an attempt, it feels so scary. Because this jump is incredibly chokeable, even if it's one of the freest jumps of all time when you're not in an attempt. So right here, I paused and I took a moment and just... I DM'd a few people like, I think this might be happening. I needed a second to just calm down and not literally die. Because my heart was going wild here. And then I hit the triple jump and side flip dived. At this point, I was almost certain I had it. I don't normally pop off when I get stars, but this one was an exception because this was the most important journey I've had in my entire life, and I thank each and every person who was on it with me. Thank you so much for watching. That's all for today.